I love, love, love working with women, seeing them really reclaim their personal power and their identity, see their hearts restored. And so, a little bit of what I do is what I'd like to talk to you today about. In these workshops, I've been encouraging and exhorting and sharing my story about the journey into heart healing for me, the journey that took me out of some difficult emotional stuff, particularly some deep, dark depression, and enabled me to come into a totally new space to become fully understanding of who I was, who my identity was, and that's been a journey. It's been a journey of several decades, and I'm still on it, and I love it, and I'm probably never going to stop it. So I'm Miriam Smout. I'm mother of 5, wife to Cole, and just really excited about being able to share a little bit of my story today. I actually forgot one of my very important props, so I will duck off in a minute and go grab that. It's important. It's part of the story today. So heart healing. What is heart healing? For me, heart healing has become a journey of really understanding what is going on at that deeper place, at the root of who I am. The heart for me is the absolute control center, the control center of everything I do, everything that I am. And it's that space where when there is pain and wounds and clutter and crap in our lives, it lodges on our heart. It just becomes a filter for things that bring cycles into our life, that stop us from really being able to break free. And when I was starting this journey for myself, I was an unraveled mess. I really was in my 40s, mid-40s, or maybe it started sooner than that. You know, as I said, I was a wife, I was a mother, I had a dream of how I would like to raise my children. I had a real desire to not have regrets in my life. And what I discovered during the journey, particularly in my 40s, that a lot of those things that were really important to me were now seeming out of reach because I had hit a really difficult space. I was not even really wanting to be alive. I was struggling at a very deep, dark space with depression, and I couldn't put my finger on why I was depressed. I had 5 healthy children. I had a husband who worked hard to provide for us, but I was miserable. I was not a happy person. And I couldn't find an ounce of gratitude in me to be thankful for the things that I had. I had just tipped over into such a dark space. You know, how had I got to this place? How was it that I came to this place of being so depressed and so unable to cope? You know, I thought in my 40s I'd be flying, I'd be looking forward to the rest of my life, and there would be new things coming and opening up for me. But instead, I was in this deep, dark hole. You know, I wasn't thinking thoughts about my future. I was thinking thoughts that were not life-giving and thoughts that were not hopeful. This space or this place of being unraveled to that extent was quite scary, and I felt like I had no control over my thoughts, what I would be thinking next, and what actions maybe those thoughts would cause me to take. It was a horrible feeling of being out of control and not knowing how things were going to work out. So on that journey, I started a deep dive into, I guess, what I would call my heart healing journey. And I started a deep dive into the restoration of my heart. I just need to get my technology set up. So the deep dive looked a bit like this: me being unraveled, me coming face to face with the truth of that. Me deciding I've got to do something different. What I've been doing isn't working for me. So what could it be? What could I be? What could I do that was different? While I wasn't thinking maybe that clearly in that time, I was so grateful and blessed to connect with other women who had, two or three of us that had challenges. You know, our lives were not in our 40s quite what we expected and thought that they would look like. And I was so blessed to meet up with other women, two or three at the time, who were passionate about pursuing the answers, pursuing the why. Why do we end up in this space in our mid-40s when we thought it would be, you know, over the hill and up, up, up and away? I can only say that that journey was a very curious kind of pathway into trying to understand and unfold where I was at and why. And in that process of unfolding those things, I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about how I had just adopted the principles or the practices of, say, my own mum, who I love dearly. However, I was just not wired the same way as her, it would seem. The approach of the generation that my mother was from was very much just steel yourself, be resolute, hold on, and, you know, don't look at your circumstances, don't look at your feelings, just head down and keep at it. And so I did really try to do that because that's the only model I knew, and that was the only direction I could follow at that time. However, it didn't work for me. I just unraveled more and more. I just did not cope with steeling myself and holding on and hoping that everything would work out in the end. The journey of heart healing has been the most dynamic and precious journey of my life. I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed, so thankful that my heart was willing. I was willing to open my heart up to some fresh and new pathways. I had to be willing to stop what I was doing, and I had to be willing to turn and to go in a different direction. I did not realize that I'd come into agreement with a lot of lies about myself, about who I was, a failure, unable to cope. All of these thoughts and beliefs and mindsets had me thinking that I was just meant to be a basket case. I just was not going to be one of those people that could get out of a dark hole. I just thought I was an angry person. I just thought it was my personality. I just thought, this is me. Here I am. Get used to you, accept it, and just make the most of life that you can, which is what I tried to do. But the most of life was not happening for me. It was just getting darker and darker and darker. I wished that I could have made the most of it and just pushed my emotions away. I tried to just ignore how I was feeling. I tried to just ignore my emotions and, you know, push them to the side. But they kept screaming back at me and not letting me move forward and move on. I really was very miserable, and it really was a dark space for me. I'm just so grateful today that this heart healing journey presented itself, and the pathway that I went on was so unique to me. And I just want to reinforce the fact that there is no one way for this journey. This journey is very much about being spirit-led, being intuitive, listening to our heart, getting curious, asking questions, and then waiting and sitting and resting to find answers that are going to equip us and enable us to walk with a healed and whole heart. I had so much stuff in my heart. I had rejection, I had abandonment, I had betrayals, I had grief, I had anger, I had the whole kit and caboodle, I reckon, because I'd never ever been taught or modeled or shown how to process some of those emotions. And while I'd grown up in faith and grown up in a home that uh, taught about faith and trust, I thought faith was just holding on despite the horribleness of a situation. I just didn't understand faith could actually be taking a different step, going in a different direction. And it wasn't until I made that choice that I came out of this dark space. So, my passion for heart healing has come out of my own journey. When I meet with women or I talk to women and I hear them say, yeah, nothing's ever going to change, my heart really goes out and bleeds for them, because I know that that's not the truth, but I know that that's what I believed as well. And when I meet with women that know that there's just this messy stuff inside of them and they feel like it's just who they are and they have to make the most of bad relationships, of horrible health situations, of difficult family circumstances, of financial mess, I feel for them, because that was the contrariness inside of me, the contrariness, the bits that were just not working, the bits that were just in conflict with who I truly was, conflict with my identity. They were the bits that for me were debilitating and stopping me from finding a way through that mess. I've just written a book which is in the process of being published, called The Restoration of a Heart of a Woman, and it's all about nurture. One of the processes, or one of the pathways that I needed to take to get myself into a healthier place, was a path of nurture. I had been giving to everybody else, my family, my husband, my friends, I guess, everything, my church, I was giving, and I love to give. But I was depleted and I was giving out of an empty tank. And I had not learnt about the power and the importance of nurturing myself. As I have gone on in this journey, I have discovered that out of the contrariness inside of me, a beautiful garden can grow. So nurture is based on Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. How the heck did she grow a beautiful garden? She was contrary. She was a mess. She was judged by other people. There were expectations of her that she couldn't fulfill. But what she did was set her heart, set her hands to nurture something around her, which was her garden. And out of that nurture came something beautiful. If we set about nurturing ourselves and nurturing our own hearts, then something beautiful can actually come out of the contrariness, the darkness, the depression, the mess that's inside of us. And for me, learning that I needed to live from the inside out, from the inside where that control center, my heart, that was wounded and hurt, needed some healing and needed some refreshing and needed some wholeness. How could I do that, and where could I go? And that was definitely a God provision for me, that out of that contrariness, out of that darkness, out of that space of huge negativity, I had a door open for me that was enabled me to be in community and enabled me to be walking with others that were hungry to be on that similar journey. One of the things that I've learned over my journey is that, everything that happens is definitely for a purpose. It's not often what we expect, and it's not often what we truly, truly hoped for. And I certainly have found myself in that situation on numerous occasions, which is why I wanted my prop. Can you excuse me just for 30 seconds? I'll go get my prop. Thank you. This is one of the things that came into my life totally unexpectedly. We have been breeding schnoodles and schnauzers, and this is little Simba from the Lion King litter. He's a wiggly worm. And we've just had this litter of puppies. He's 4 weeks old. You're 4 weeks old today. This is one of the interesting blessings in my life, but also one of the things that's caused a lot of conflict for me. So what I wanted to share is how when there's contrariness inside of us, when there's something going on that is just not gelling, not sitting well, if we ignore it and we just think, I'm just going to press on, what I want to suggest is that becomes a huge conflict inside of us that when we ignore it, manifests not just within, but without. For instance, yesterday, I delivered my Gracie delivered another 7 puppies. So now I have 4-week-old puppies and I have a day-old lot of puppies, and I have another lot of puppies coming in 10 days. Sorry, am I boring you? This was not my plan. This is not my passion. It's lovely. It's fun, but it's time consuming. It's taking up energy and effort that I really, really would love to put somewhere else, but right now I'm not able to. So inside of me has been a conflict which I didn't realize. And because I didn't process it, and because I didn't make a dive to understand it and what was going on, I ended up with a nasty cold sore. When these things happen to me, I know that I need to stop and pay some attention. I know I need to stop and try to get to what is at the root, what is at the heart, what is at the very core of this issue for me. So what I want to share today is that my passion for heart healing has come out of a journey of learning that when my soul is sick, when my heart, the control center of my being, is not feeding my soul with healthy thoughts, with positive, constructive constructs, then it's going to manifest in my body. And so this year, I've broken my toe, I've broken my rib, and now I've come out with a cold sore. So I am very aware that something is trying to get my attention. Now, in the past, I just would have put it down to being sick, stressed, and whatever. And of course, there's some truth at the very root of that. However, even deeper than that is what is going on. And so I've learnt in my heart healing journey to pursue understanding, to get curious and ask questions about what is the conflict, what is the contrariness inside of me that is causing my body to manifest these things. I didn't choose to break my toe or my rib, but it stopped me in my tracks, and it made me have to really process some things that were going on. So what I do now in my own journey currently is that I assume that the things that are happening to me have a spiritual root. There is something. Are you trying to eat my pearl necklace? That wouldn't be a good idea. There is something that, I'm going to flip that around, because apart from not wanting a pearl in your belly, I want it to stay. The contrariness within me will manifest in my body. It will come out in some way, shape, or form. in sickness because there's something going on inside that is not right. When I processed my middle toe being smashed because I unfortunately dropped a heavy water bottle on it, I assume that there's something spiritual going on. I assume that there's something going on inside of me that I need to understand. And so I do a dive into, spiritual meanings around things like whatever the construct is, which was my middle toe. And what it represents is action, your drive, your focus, your ability to finish what you started. I was like, whoa, hang on a tick. Now, these little puppies, as cute and beautiful as they are, they're getting in the way of me finishing what I've started, and that's bringing me into conflict. It's not that it's wrong, it's that it's a message. It's a message wanting to give me some insight and clarity about what I need to know, what I need to understand deep in my heart. And it comes back to very often the lies that I might be believing, how I've come out of alignment with truth, and purpose. And I might not know or understand in my cognitive brain what I'm doing, because at that deeper heart level, it's just easy to ignore the cries of our heart. It's easy to ignore what our heart is saying to us. So then I looked up the spiritual meaning in coleslaw, cold sauce, and I found that a lot of the information, and I spent some time just getting that spirit-led, intuitive help from above, from the Lord, that it's a conflict within, that is, truth wants to be manifested, but it's being suppressed. And so as I have spent some time now, some days having this horrible cold sore, and then a few weeks of a broken toe, which was pretty painful, I started to realize that, yeah, I had come into conflict. I had come into a place where within me, some of my heart's desires were being suppressed, and it was bringing me into conflict. So within is a contrariness there, a contrariness that makes me want to rebel, makes me want to get angry, makes me want to lash out. Like easily I could lash out at my husband because it was his real desire to breed beautiful little puppies. But guess who's doing it? Me. Because he's too busy. So this brought me into some conflict, because while it's a really beautiful thing to do, this is Simba from the Lion King litter. It's a beautiful thing to raise these puppies and then to send them to their forever homes and see families just totally in a beautiful space with this loving, affectionate little creature that just fulfills and completes their home in a beautiful way. That is such an incredible experience every single time. However, it was bringing me into conflict. Now, I can't change my situation. I can't change my circumstances. The only thing I can change is my heart. And so I've had to learn, when these things happen, manifestation of illness and sickness, that I need to sit down with the Lord. I need to sit down with myself and create some space to really do a deep dive into what is in my heart. What is in my heart? And so I have had a revelation that there's just a conflict inside of me. And a number of things have come through from that as I've asked questions after spending some time with a mentor that I work with, and also just with the Lord, and hearing what is going on at a deeper level inside of me. Why? Why am I in this conflict? I'm still in the process, but I wanted to share it with you today because out of the conflict, out of the contrariness, a beautiful garden can grow. Beautiful puppies can grow alongside other beautiful passions and desires that I have, but I don't know how. So it's not wrong to be in conflict. It's just wrong to stay there. It's just silly. Like, I know that if I'm in a space where my body is manifesting illness, manifesting sickness, then I need to do a deep dive, get curious about what is in my heart. And for me, it comes back to contrariness. The contrariness within me, the contrariness in my heart is a filter that works through to my soul, my mind, my will, my emotions. When I was in the deep, dark depression, there was contrariness inside of me, multitudes of multiple layers of this that I took some years to really process and come through. But that contrariness was there for a purpose. It was there for the purpose to bring me into my true identity, to bring me into my true calling, to bring me into a place that I honestly had no idea that this is what would be for me the true calling of my life. Sometimes when we get curious and we ask the questions, we get answers that we don't expect. And for me, as I was getting curious and healing was starting in my own heart and soul, and it started to manifest in me being not sick all the time. Prior to this, in those years, I was sick all the time, and I would be at the doctor and the doctor would be saying, "Do you know there's nothing wrong with you? I can't find a physical thing that's causing this." And I'd be like, well, where do I go? What do I do? How do I find answers that are going to enable me and facilitate healing in my life? Do I just always have to be depleted in this way? And it was as I sat connected with my heart and allowed the Holy Spirit to lead me and reveal things, I needed support and I needed guidance and I needed help and I needed encouragement. There were so many times I was ready to quit and let go and just give up because it felt too hard. It was a new pathway I was forging. It was like coming up against a brick wall and just banging my head, banging my head, banging my head and thinking, why am I doing this? Well, why? Is because the brick wall needed to come down. And if the brick wall doesn't come down, then we're stuck. And I was feeling very, very stuck. So one of the things that I am creating now is a community where I want to, instead of work so much one-on-one with women, I want to work in community with women. And so I have a group called Soul Sisters, AS, Soul Sisters, which I am starting up, and I'm going to invite people that have been part of my program and been part of my mentoring to create community that others can come and join, hear the testimonies. There's some beautiful testimonies of women that have asked the curious questions of their own heart, had revelation of the contrariness and the confusion and the conflict and the lies and the mindsets within that have not been serving them well, and brought that into the open, and then allowed Holy Spirit to bring healing into those spaces. But it's so incredibly unique. There are no two stories the same. When we work with someone and work through something, I can't go, oh, yeah, that's that formula, because it never works that way. It only works when we work spirit-led with the Holy Spirit, because He knows the truth. He knows the truth of our heart. He knows the truth of our state. He knows the truth of the contrariness within us. He knows the way that we need to change whatever's inside of us so that we no longer are manifesting frustration and anger and sickness and grief and sorrow and all of that stuff. It's not wrong. Those things are necessary part of a process of whatever we might be walking through. But to get stuck there, that's the point when you know that you need to reach out and get some help. So Soul Sisters is going to be a 2-hour group session, about 2 hours, where you can bring your questions, you can bring your curiosity, you can bring your contrariness, and out of that, we're going to see what beautiful gardens can grow in the lives of the women and the lives of the beautiful souls that come together and connect in that group. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to reach out. It's going to be at this time. In the US, this will be, I'll talk to some of the US girls, but around 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. on a Thursday night. And for Australians, it'll be 9 a.m. Australian Western Time. You'll have to work out your own times if you live in another state. But this is for community. This is for getting together and encouraging one another. When we're with others that have that same pursuit, that same hunger, that same thirst, it's absolutely beautiful to have others cheering you on, encouraging you, and building you up in your walk, in your faith, and in your heart healing journey. My passion is to see women's hearts restored. My heart was so broken and I was in such a dark place that when I see others in that space, my heart just goes out to them. But not everyone is ready. Not everyone is at a point where they're going to just pick up and say, you know what? Things have got to change. I want to get curious about what is going on at a deeper level for me. Is there some conflict? Is there some blockage that is causing me to be stuck? And I would say the answer is yes every time to that. But it's not always easy to unpack and to get that revelation. But that revelation of truth is something that we can journey with others and see how God is revealing to them and see what God is doing in the lives of others, be encouraged. And if there are needs for one-on-one sessions, then we can set that up as well. If you're curious, if you're interested, if you think maybe that's something that you would like to participate in, then just message me, let me know, and I will send you the details and I'll send you the times, and we will get started next week, is my plan. So, yeah, I would love to invite you into a Soul Sisters community. I have a Facebook group I set up years ago, actually, and I never really grew that group, but it's sitting there. So I would love for others that are willing and wanting to participate to reach out, and I'll tell you what that will look like. For the time being until Christmas, we'll just do it no charge. But after that, I do have a lot of costs, which even this is costing me money week by week, but that's my heart. I would want to be able to give and see others healed and start to bring healing into their lives and coming out of the conflict and coming out of the confusion, out of the contrariness. And then next year, we could start working through the nurture book and start working through what that whole concept of bringing nurture to yourself might look like and what it might mean for you. So thanks for joining me today. Simba, you want to say goodbye? He's a bit sleepy. Oh, yeah, he's very sleepy. I'll go put him back with his other siblings. He's a litter of 6. And Gracie had a litter of 7, which is a big litter for a schnauzer. Those are schnoodles. Okay, definitely time to go. All right. I hope you are blessed. I know you'll be blessed, and take care. God bless. We'll connect soon.